All right, let's bring in our guest quickly. Criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf joins us this hour. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining the judge and I here on the show. And essentially, as we mentioned earlier, this is a proffer. This is when he was arrested. And basically, he told police, look, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to get back with my girls. Those are his words. And they said, okay, well, let's see what you know and maybe get you to testify, maybe work a deal with you. So that's number one, that's helpful to the defense. In listening to it, two things jump out at me. Want to know what jumps out at you. Number one, how suggestive the questions are, right? They're basically giving him the answers in the questions. And number two, he's not nearly as definitive as I remembered him on the stand in this proffer as to the involvement of Monica.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Michael. I think that a lot of times when we see somebody interrogated by the police in a proffer sense, they know what they want out of the witness. And so they're going to try to get the witness to give them what they want. When they need the witness to tie things together for them, they are going to lead them down that path in a way that they're not allowed to do on the witness stand, right? Because we can't lead a witness in a courtroom, but officers can lead somebody when they have them in an interview room, and that's what we see them doing in this interview. And when somebody is being interviewed, they're not going to be prepared for that interview in the same way that they are months and months later when they're sitting on a witness stand and they've had time to read through the reports, to read through the proffer, to know the story as they've been prepared to tell it on the stand. So they're just not going to be quite as ready to tell it. And so it's not going to be as effective. And that's why the defense wants the jury to see this. They want the jury to say, well, when he was first asked to tell this story, he didn't know it quite as well as he does when he has a chance to sit down, think about it, and get it ready to tell to the jury later. And I think that's what's going to be effective for the defense here to try to poke holes in this so-called co-conspirator.
But Jeffrey, I don't think, and Michael and I might disagree on this, I don't think he got a great deal. We know that he pled to second-degree murder. Maybe he gets a good deal. We don't know yet. The sentencing hasn't happened. He's facing 16 years to life. If he were to get life, I don't think this is that great of a deal for him to change or embellish or offer testimony to get her found guilty and then still serve this amount of time.
Well, I think that's exactly what the defense wants to show here, right? The defense wants to say your sentence is kind of contingent on how this trial goes, because the recommendation from the prosecution is based on you giving quote unquote truthful testimony, right? That's how these proffer deals are always written. But truthful testimony is always truthful as to what the prosecution thinks the truth is. And so that's how the defense needs to couch this, is that the prosecution is going to make a sentencing recommendation based on how they believe your testimony goes and whether they think you were truthful, not whether you were actually truthful from the sense of what the actual truth is. And so that's what the defense is going to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, I'll just state my case for it being a good deal. Look at his co-defendant, Robert Baker, got life in prison without parole.
Well, that's fair.
Right? So that was on the table for him, and he has a young family. He's a young man. So if he can get out sometime in the 16 to 20 year range, he's got a good life ahead of him, time to be with his girls. So I think that looks great. For us, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But for him, under the
it's a better deal.
It's a much better deal.
Okay, that's fair.
How I see it. All right, we'll take a break here. We'll have more from inside that courtroom. Keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. All right, but before we head back into court, I want to bring back in criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf. And Jeffrey, I want to ask you this question because it's bothered me throughout this case. We're talking about this guy being arrested in 2024, late 2024, mid 2024, around June or so, June or July. The crime happened in 2017, yet the prosecutors felt it was important to put somebody, what they call him a Perkins guy, inside of his cell to try to get information from him to kind of wrap up this case. Does that jump out at you at all? To me, if I'm 7 years into investigating a case, I already have the person ready to go to trial. I wasn't planning on getting this guy, but I get him and I do this. Tells me that I feel like that means they have a weak case.
Yeah, I mean, it always bothers me when the prosecution turns to quote unquote jailhouse snitches. Jailhouse snitches to me are some of the most unreliable sources of information that exist. What a jailhouse snitch is, for the audience that may be unaware, is basically what they're doing is they're sticking somebody into a cell with somebody that they need information from and saying, get them to talk. And then what they're asking a jury to do is to take somebody who has every incentive to lie about what they are told in a jail cell and saying, trust what that person says this person said. and they're confronting somebody who is sitting in a cell with your cellmate told us you said this. And that puts the screws to somebody to then flip and or give more information to the state to make a case. And that is the most pressure the state can put on somebody. When you are sitting in a cell facing a sentence or serving a sentence, there is no greater pressure the state can put on somebody. And it is the least reliable evidence imaginable. So yeah, Michael, I have the same problem with it that you do, because it is the most desperate play by the state and the least reliable evidence available.
Okay, so granted, by recalling this witness by the defense is able to say, here's the audio of what he really said back then versus how much more he's saying now. But was it worth it? Do you think it was smart for the defense to put him back on the stand, Jeffrey?
Yeah, it shows they're not afraid of him, quite frankly. It shows that this government witness, this star witness for the government, is not somebody that the defense is afraid of. And we'll call him in our case, and we'll do direct examination with him. We won't be constrained by having to do cross-examination with him and control him through cross-examination. We'll do direct with him. We're not afraid of this witness, and you shouldn't think that we are.
Good stuff. I didn't even think of that.
I didn't either.
Just the fact of calling him suggests that we're not afraid of him.
Yeah, that Jeffrey Wolf has good insight.
Jeffrey Wolf, you'd think he was an attorney or something. All right, Jeffrey, thank you so much for being with us. Truly appreciate it. Folks, I'm going to take you back now to court for more of his testimony.